Hello, and welcome to the first episode of my new podcast. Today, I will be reviewing a book I read recently titled Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. If you would like more information about any books I review or comment on during my podcast, you can visit the homepage of my channel, and the names of all the books and authors I talk about will be there. Now, on to the piece de resistance, Long Way Down. I read this book in the span of about an hour or two. It was a quick read considering each page was written like a poem. However, the grasp this book had on me was amazing. I was hooked from the beginning, and the narrator is especially captivating. This book is about a boy named Will who lost his brother to gun violence. Will lives in a rough neighborhood, to say the least. In this neighborhood, there are 3 unspoken rules. Crying is never allowed, neither is snitching. However, revenge is imperative. Will is filled with so much sadness, and he can't quite seem to explain it. Bullets don't always hit the right target, and sometimes the wrong person gets the short end of the stick. That's what this book is about. That, sadly, sometimes you miss. The story begins with William, the narrator, introducing himself and assuring the reader that what they are about to read is a true story. Will compares the loss of his brother to the loss of a tooth, the way that you rub your tongue where the tooth is supposed to be, knowing it isn't there anymore. The pain you feel when it gets ripped out. Will describes the scene of Sean's death, how the screams can be heard above all the sirens, how any time someone died in their neighborhood, the sirens could never silence the screams. Will noticed the corner store plastic bag in Sean's hand. He had just gone to get special soap for their mother. Will knew that after Sean was taken away in a body bag, everyone would go back to normal the next day, like it never happened, like Sean was never there, lying on the ground in a pool of his own blood. The story reminds us that the world keeps going even when something traumatic happens. Will found Sean's gun. The rules of his neighborhood made it very clear that revenge was a must. That revenge was the only way to make things right. So Will took that gun. He thought he was prepared to do whatever it took to avenge his brother, to make things right. Carlson Riggs was known around Will's neighborhood. He was supposedly Sean's friend. Will knew he was guilty, and he also knew what he had to do to Carlson for murdering his brother. Riggs owned some territory, including the corner store that Sean visited for his mother's soap. Will had always had a knack for solving mysteries, figuring out the culprit before anyone else could. It had to be Riggs. It couldn't be anyone else. At least, that's what William thought. The story draws the reader in with the narrator's thoughts and feelings. Will wasn't surprised that Sean died. The environment that they both grew up in wasn't the friendliest, to put it simply. The characters felt like real people. They felt relatable. Nobody was perfect. In fact, the entire story revolves around mistakes. Some small, others life-changing. I will say that the story can get a bit confusing if you don't pay close enough attention to all of the characters and who is speaking or having a flashback. Other than that, this story was incredible, and I think it's a good book for people to experience. It gives a reader more perspective and helps them realize that not everything is always what it seems. I would recommend this book to middle/high schoolers and young adults. It's a quick read, and it gives the reader a good experience and a new point of view. If I had to rate this book out of 10, I would give it an 8. Thank you for listening. Happy reading.